Everybody else knows.
How about it, Alex Guest? How about week 3 of high school football in the books? Just like that, we're rolling through the high school football season in a weird week 3. Weird for many reasons. Rain, well, I don't know about rain. I looked outside last night and today. I haven't seen much of it. I saw more Thursday night during the games that got moved on Thursday that were supposed to be on Friday because rain was coming, but we got more rain on Thursday than Friday. However, a lot of games Alex Guest moved to Thursday. A few games last night. What, 5 or 6, 7 games last night?
Yeah, something like that.
And you were at Gaffney last night as they played Freedom out of North Carolina. We'll talk about that game and all of the other week 3 games in the area. Welcome into the Saturday Morning Scramble. I'm Cole Bryson. To my right, Alex Guest. So good to be with you on this Saturday morning as we are each and every Saturday. Today we're at 1524 Locust Hill Road in Greer. Come out if you're in the Greer area this morning. Come out, talk a little high school football with us. I do know that there is one Greer fan that will be here, and he's told me he'll be here. So we'll see. We will probably see Daredevil in a little while. You know, he called me yesterday, Alex, and I would imagine Greer fans are pretty excited today, pretty excited this weekend, as they had a very big win on Saturday or on Thursday night. And you know what? We'll talk about that game. I was at that game. You heard that game right here on the Penn Upstate. But a lot of good games to get into. There were a lot of teams. I say a lot. It seemed like in Region 2 5A, the majority of the teams were off, Alex, other than Burns and Gaffney. Am I right on that? Or did Wade Hampton, Eastside played, right?
Yeah, Eastside, Burns, and Gaffney were the teams that played in Region 2 5A.
Wade Hampton did not.
Yeah, Wade Hampton did not. Dorman did not. Spartanburg did
not.
not. Boiling Springs did not.
How about that?
And Riverside did not.
Riverside. So yeah, the majority of them were off.
So all the teams but the other.
That's right. All of them were off on Thursday night, had a bye week, almost lined up to where the entire Region 2 5A had a bye week. But, you know, now that the bye weeks are over, we've had, 3-4 weeks for some, Alex, non-region games. And you and I talk about it a lot when the season starts. We talked about it last year. I remember reacting to Dutch Fork last year in the first few weeks of the season. You and I sat here week after week thinking, what the world's going on? And, you know, the one thing that I've learned is it's okay to react, but you really can't formulate an opinion on teams good until right about now. You know, right about now, the bye week, a lot of teams had that bye before the region. Burns had theirs last week. And now that we've seen Dorman play Grayson, Dorman play Greenville, Spartanburg play South Point, Spartanburg play Dutch Fork, Gaffney played J.O. Mann, Burns played Greer. You know, we kind of know what to expect, and we'll start with Region 2 5A. Are our thoughts, and I'll let you go first here, are our thoughts any different on that region now than they were before the season started?
You know, I really don't think so for myself, Cole.
Yeah.
You know, coming into the season when we did our first show, 3-4 weeks ago now.
4 weeks ago now.
We were talking about how we felt like the game next week in Boiling Springs, between Gaffney and Boiling Springs, could very well have region championship implications to it. And I think I still feel that way. You know, obviously, obviously the game that you called Thursday night with Burns and Greer, Burns, they're in a tough situation this season. They've got a very young team. They're having to play every game on the road. So, there's so many multiple factors that are going into just really a week-by-week status for Burns. Then you've got, you look at, and it's, I hate to call it transitive property or whatever, but you look at the week 0 game, Dorman and Greenville, and Dorman beats Greenville by 7, and then Gaffney beats Greenville by 40 last week. So I think so. For myself,
Nothing major changes.
Yeah, no major changes. I think, you know, next week's game between Gaffney and Boiling Springs is still going to be major region championship implications.
Yeah, I don't think I have a ton of different opinions now than I did. However, I do feel like I have a better gauge on teams. And by the way, didn't do really well in my picks last night. I think this is the worst I've done this week. What did I go last night?
16-6.
16-6. Not terrible, not great. Somewhere in the middle, right? You went.
Well, you could ask me. I went 18-4. So
18-4.
Not terrible, not great.
No, 18-4 is good. 18-4 is good. That's a good record. It helps when you pick opposite of me on the weeks I do bad because you do good.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't do great this week. 16-6. Okay, I'll take it. But hopefully, let's not have any more.
You still have me by one game.
What is my total?
78-23. I'm 77-24.
We're right neck and neck.
Yeah.
We're neck and neck. You can text the show anytime, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. If you were to game Thursday or last night that you want to talk about, or talk about a game coming up this Friday, what would be week 4, I believe?
4.
Or you want to call into the show, 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. I want to make sure I did not mishear Ben. Ben, did you say we had a caller earlier, or did I mishear you? Okay, perfect. We do not have a call. I just wanted to make sure somebody wasn't waiting on hold. Thanks for that, Ben, back in the Ingles Market Studios, doing a fantastic job. We're live at Ingles Market in Greer, again, 1524 Locust Hill Road in the big city of Greer, or Gur, as they call it, as the locals call it, Alex. My opinions on the region, Region 2 5A, it hasn't changed a ton. I'll say this. When you look at the teams in the region, Gaffney, Eastside, Dorman, Wade Hampton, Spartanburg, Riverside, Burns, and Bowling Springs. I knew coming into the year Bowling Springs was going to be very good. I don't think my opinions changed on Bowling Springs. The only thing I'd say is, I'll tell you where I think a team like Gaffney has a leg up on Bowling Springs is they know what they are against good competition. Gaffney played JL Man, first game of the year, 2-point game. JL Man had them on the ropes. Gaffney won the game. JL Man's a good team. Bowling Springs is also a very good team, but I'll tell you where I have a concern. Not about the team specifically for Bowling Springs, because they're a very good team, but I do have a little concern that they haven't faced a team that's going to be as good of a test as what Gaffney would be on Friday night. I still think Bowling Springs is very good, and I still think this game's going to be a fantastic game Friday night that we'll get into a little bit later in the show. However, you look at Bowling Springs, they played Greer. They beat them 43-0. Mm-hmm. Alex, they played Malden 31-12. They beat Chapman 52-7, a game that I was at. And no disrespect to those three teams, but the level of competition isn't what we're going to see Friday. So I guess that's the only thing I would say in terms of Gaffney, Bowling Springs, really not knowing just how good Bowling Springs is yet. And we talk about it the same thing with Clemson. You beat App State, but how good are you when it comes to the big dogs, right? Bowling Springs, you beat Chapman, Greer, and Malden. How good are you when it comes to Gaffney? Gaffney's going to be a perfect litmus test, and you said it. It is going to be a chance for whoever wins that game to set themselves up to potentially go on and win the region.
Yeah, you're right, Cole. And one of the things that the Max Preps RPI looks at this year for 5A seeding when it comes to playoffs is kind of that, a big part of it is overall opponent's win percentage. And so if you look at Boiling Springs right now, the three teams that they have played, Greer, they've got 1 win. Malden, 0 wins. Chapman, 1 win. So if you look at their overall kind of average win percentage of their opponent's win percentage right now, it's like 0.1667, something like that. So
what's interesting about that Max Preps RPI that will come into play in the postseason for seeding, that was new this year.
Yes.
Schedule was set 2 years ago.
Yes.
So Matt Real at Bowling Springs, he had the schedule this year with Chapman, Greer, and Malden. And if he knew that, maybe the schedule is different. And that might change how coaches schedule non-region games in the future.
Sure.
Which I love it. I don't know about the Max Preps, the RPI. It may be okay. It may not. It may suck. I don't know. This is the first year we've had it. I'll tell you this. I like it better than the non-region games meaning nothing.
Yeah,
I like it
absolutely.
better. Now that these games actually mean something, I'll take that all day long. So that that region is going to be interesting. Dorman and Spartanburg, Riverside. Those are the three teams that really intrigue me. I think Dorman's in an interesting spot because they've had a roller coaster start, right?
Mhm.
Good performance in the first half against Greenville, a horrible performance in the second half. You go to Grayson, don't look the best. You get win over Greenwood. So, excuse me. Dorman's had an interesting start, so it's hard to gauge, just how good they are compared to the region. Now, Spartanburg, I think, probably has one of the more underrated defenses
Sure.
in the region. Now, their offenses, they've battled some injuries. T.J. Johnson, quarterback, he's been injured a little bit this year, but their defense, I do feel as if it's one of the better defenses in all the region. So I think Spartanburg will be right there in it. Riverside's improved. They've got a really great defensive back, really good receiver, a young quarterback, a really good head coach in Matthew Rochester. So I think they'll beat somebody they're not supposed to beat, but I just don't know that the situation that Burns sits in, now 0-3 for the first time since 1996, Alex. You look at the region, and again, let's just call a spade here. I call the games, and I'm always honest. In high school football, you have to be careful what you say about coaches. You don't have this in high school football. You don't have the hot seat conversations like you do in college and pro because a high school coaches depend on their salary to pay their bills and feed their family.
Yeah.
So we don't have those conversations on this show. But I will tell you this: Burns is in a tough spot right now, and this is as low as the program's been in a very long time. I believe in 2001 they won a state championship, and obviously 2016 Brian Lane 3-7. That's the year he got fired, and right now 0-3 start. This is about as rough as it's been in a very long time. And when you look at the rest of Burns' schedule, somebody, Alex, the other night after the Greer game, after the Greer loss for Burns, which, by the way, was the first loss since 2000, a 16-game winning streak for Burns, chopped right off the block. Somebody mentioned to me the other night and said, man, there's a Burns fan talking to this man. It can't get much worse than this, right? Losing to Greer can't get much worse because Burns always beat Greer, always. Sure. However, I said, yeah, it can get worse. You have Norman, Spartanburg,
Yep.
Gaffney, Wolf Springs, River. Yeah, it can get a lot worse. So, talking about Burns, Alex, they're 0-3.
Mm-hmm.
Now you start looking at what's the DNA, what's the makeup of this locker room, coaching staff. Do they fold? Do they stand strong and try to rebound? Dutch Fork had a horrible start last year. They ended up winning the state championship. Yep. Now, this Burns team has major issues in terms of losing a ton of talent last year, a lot of inexperience at key positions, a lot of youth at key positions. So I'm not making the comparison between those two teams in any way. I'm just saying now that you're 0-3, how do you respond? I think for Burns, that's going to be the most interesting story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you, Cole. I mean, you talk about high school coaches and you hear the fans all the time. They're like, oh, this coach, we need to get rid of him or he's on the hot seat and all. And that pisses me off, for lack of better terms, because it's not Dabo Sweeney down the road in Clemson making a multi-million-dollar contract. So
it's a tough.
Burns is in a very tough situation this year with a very young team.
And Burns fans expect to win.
Burns fans expect to win. Yeah. You don't expect to lose to, little brother down the road, down Highway 290 to Greer. Here's the thing. Like you said, it could get much worse. No offense to who Burns starts the region with next week, but if you lose that game, then you're starting to head toward rock bottom.
Now, I don't think they will. Burns has Wade Hampton this Friday night, and they have Dorman, Riverside, Gaffney, Eastside, Spartanburg, Bowling Springs. The second half of that region slate is really where it gets tough.
Yeah.
19-16 loss to Hannah, 35-27. What's so strange is after that Irmo game, 35-27 loss. I saw the game. I called it right here in Phantom State. Irmo's a freaking really good football team.
Fantastic.
And Burns played them so well. Yeah. And I looked at that game and thought maybe this Burns team is turning the page a little bit. And maybe they're starting to get better. And you come out against Greer. You had a bye week, and you had a whole extra week to prepare for Greer. And they just whooped you up front. Just absolutely whooped you. And that's what's so surprising. And Alex, we talked about this yesterday on my Diesel show, Wire to Wire. You can expect to win many games with 5 rushing yards.
No.
5 rushing yards. That's what. Think about that. When's the last time you heard of all the good running back Burns had? From Marcus Lattimore to Rajay Harris as of late, 5 rushing yards as a team. Final stats. That's not good.
Do you have the actual year when that was?
No, I don't. I'm just telling you.
I would guess maybe 96 when they started 0-3.
That's a long. 5 yards,
and
man.
The thing is, Burns has been in every game. I listened to you Thursday. I've seen the stat sheets and all. You mentioned those scores: a 3-point loss to Hannah. They lost by 8 to Irmo, and then 8 again last night or Thursday night to Greer. They have only lost those 3 games by a total of 19 points.
Yeah. Close games,
so,
just not able.
They've been there.
Yeah, been in every game. Just not able to in the fourth quarter, not able to get it done. All right, before we run to our first break of the segment, we will talk to Brett Sloan in hour number 2 of the program, the head football coach of the Woodruff Wolverines. But before we do that, and before we run, Alex, let's take a look at the scores from not last night, but Thursday night and last night, week 3 scores.
24 scores. Greenwood goes down to Lexington and defeats the Wildcats 14-0. TL Hannah.
I got that one wrong.
Yeah, you did. Well, I got that one wrong too. So, TL Hannah 36-29 winner over Wren. Woodruff defeats Woodmont 36-13. We just talked about it. Greer knocked off Burns 18-10. Eastside a 23-13 winner over Blue Ridge.
Wow.
Game last night, Gaffney defeated Freedom out of North Carolina 31-0. Broome knocks off Emerald 28-25. Fountain Inn a big 56-6 winner over Carolina on Thursday night.
Game, Alex. Sorry, I wanted to.
No, yeah, you're fine.
The Broome Emerald game. Broome's offense is really good. Taekwon Booker had 15 carries, 1 catch for 5 yards, 46 yards from ground. Jameson Beerberry 7 rushes for. 21 for 29, 288 yards and 4 touchdowns. So a really big night for Jameson Beerberry of Burns through the air. Again, 21 of 29, 288, 4 touchdowns. Braden Simpson, wide receiver for Broome, 2 rushes, 18 yards, 8 catches for 106 yards and receiving touchdown. So those guys, they had a really good performance against Emerald, and that was a big win, a much-needed win for Lynn Fleming and Broome.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on.
Move on. Sorry.
You're love the stats. AC Flora 2017 winner over Lawrence. Berea knocks off Southside 26-20.
Hey, Lawrence now
0-4. Wow. Tough start.
I didn't pick them to win this week, but they're breaking in a new offense. Double wing, Greg Porter first year. That's going to be an interesting storyline, man. Lawrence is a tough place to win, and I saw them preseason over in a jamboree over at Union County that looked a lot better, but they've had some tough competition.
Very tough competition. West Side, a big 55-14 winner over Belton.
Yeah, so much for thinking that game.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
St. Joe's, a 21-7 win over Pickens. Seneca defeats Walhalla 24-7.
Seneca's, man, what a season they've had.
Yeah.
Undefeated.
4-0.
Seneca's rolling
awesome.
right now. They've had a really good turnaround, and the Wildcats are on tear.
You know who else is undefeated?
Tell me.
Mountain View Prep.
Mountain View Prep.
Yep. I saw at one point Mountain View Prep was trailing Crescent 21-7, and
Yeah.
they came back and won that game 48-21.
That's big time. When I saw that halftime score or that score where they were trailing, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Very surprised by that.
Powdersville gets their first win of the season, 16-7 over Pendleton. Franklin County knocked off West Oak 49-17. Liberty a 28-9 winner over Palmetto. Clinton defeated Chapman 49-27. Union County comes back and wins it over Blacksburg 30-27.
We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later.
That was what you call a drunk football game.
Yeah. Chesney 28-24 over Rutherfordton Spindale Central out of North Carolina. Landrum 47-21 winners over Polk County out of North Carolina.
Big.
Abbeville 49-28 over 96. Ware Shoals 12 over Towns County out of Georgia, and Greenwood Christian a 40-14 winner over Whitmire.
How about that? How about that? A really big win for Chesney, for Chesney and Landrum,
Yeah.
both getting much needed wins. Union County Blacksburg. So we'll get to that after the break. If you don't know, if you haven't heard how that one ended, let's just say it was nuts. I had two buddies who were there. Brock was one of them. Brock Hammer with WZZQ and Cherokee Chronicle. He was there, but I also had another friend of mine who was there and left with 3 minutes to go. And boy, did the ending of that game unfold. We'll talk about what happened. I'll give you a tease. Union County was down 27-8 to Blacksburg with 2 minutes to go. We'll tell you what happened on the other side. He's Alex Guest. I'm Cole Bryson. More high school football conversation right here on the Fan Upstate. It is the Saturday morning scramble. So good to be with you. I'm Cole Bryson, Alex Guest to my right on a cloudy Saturday morning in Greer. We're live at Ingles 1524 Locust Hill Road in Greer. I want to say thanks to Ingles as well as Founders Federal Credit Union for proudly presenting you with the Saturday Scramble each and every Saturday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Alex, you know what? We talked about this yesterday on the show in the afternoon. I hate to talk about it because it's got to be a gut punch still, a sore subject for Josh Batchelor, who we had on last week. I guess we cursed him. I don't know what we did, gave him bad juju. But for those that don't know what happened, Friday night, every year you get one of these kind of crazy games, right?
Yeah.
Friday night, this game's at Blacksburg. Union County looking for their first win. Union County also looking for the first win that would give Blacksburg their first loss. With 2 minutes to go in the ball game, fourth quarter, Union County trails to Blacksburg, 27-8.
Okay. Blacksburg wins, right?
Blacksburg should win the game. You would think, with 2 minutes to go, up 27-8, you would think they win the game. However, they did not. They lost the game. Fumbles on 2 consecutive kick returns, and in about 35 seconds of actual clock, there were 20-something points scored. Union County with a ginormous win, Alex. And I don't know what that does to the psyche of Blacksburg, because that's as tough of a loss that I can recall in a long time. Even bigger win for Union, but boy, that's got to be tough for Josh Batchelor.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cole, I was at home. I was listening to your game. I'm kind of on the Twitter, the X, whatever you want to call it these days, and I'm surfing through scores, and I see that score with 2.5, 3 minutes left, and the last score update I saw was 27-8, and I had gone in and I had started to update the spreadsheets that we have week to week, and I was like, all right, well, Blacksburg's going to win that game, and then I saw the final score alert, and I said, there's no way. Somebody fat fingered that or something, and went back and pulled it out, and I was like, dang.
It's one of those games that just leaves us speechless.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we can get Brock Cameron, who we have on the show frequently, WZZQ, who calls the Gaffney games. He was there Thursday night. I don't know if we can get him on the line.
He might still be asleep.
He might still be. He may be playing golf day. There's no telling. And you're probably right. He's probably still asleep. However, if we can get him, that's a fantastic story to tell. Not for Blacksburg, but for Union County. Now, the question is, how do you as a player or a coach, after a loss like that, you've got to have the shortest memory possible, because I'm telling you this, if I'm a coach, I'm not forgetting that game's going to stick with me for a very long time. So Absolutely. Now, how does Blacksburg respond? That's the question.
Yeah, and that's a tough question to answer, I think. I agree with you. How does Blacksburg respond? You got to have the shortest memory ever. People say you got to have memory. You got to be like a goldfish and have memory like a goldfish. Well, I think you got to have memory worse than a goldfish.
For sure.
And just, you know what, this happened. Just we're moving on. We're focusing on next week.
There's no doubt about it. I just say,
it's speechless.
I've been broadcasting high school football for 12 years and covering it, and I can't recall a loss like that. That's an absolute gut-wrenching loss for Blacksburg. Good to see Daredevil in the house. How about that, Daredevil? He did call me yesterday to remind me if I just had simply forgotten that Burns did lose to Greer on Thursday night, and I appreciate
not even
so.
Not even gone 24 hours, and he's already rubbing it in.
I love it. But you know what, though, for Greer, and we talked about it Thursday on the broadcast, that's a big of a win for Greer as you can ask for. You start the season 0-3, but, we talked about it on air before the game. The way Greer played Hillcrest, and Hillcrest is a very good team, but the way that Greer played Hillcrest the week before, that should have given Burns all the cause for concern that they needed. That, hey, this team played with a really good football team in Hillcrest. Greer seems to be getting better. Now, they had some tough losses at the beginning of the season. We all know that. Bowling Springs was a tough loss. It was game 1. But for Burns, I don't know if they overlooked Greer. I don't know if they underestimated them, but I'll just say this. You cannot, on a bye week, Alex. That's my biggest problem with what I saw on Thursday night. Burns had a bye week. And you had an extra week to prepare for Greer, and you come out and they just simply put, whoop your butts on the line of scrimmage. They ran the ball all night long, Alex, at will, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah, and my assumption is that, the Burns coaches, I mean, heck, that game was at Greer last week with Greer and Hillcrest. So my assumption is that during the off week, the Burns coaches maybe travel over to Greer. They, watch the Greer Hillcrest game because they know they have to play Greer the following week, and they kind of do a little bit of scouting report and all. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they were out golfing last Friday night.
Well, I just say it's a tough loss. Big shout out to Nick Holmes, running back for the Greer Yellow Jackets. 25 carries, 155 yards, 1 touchdown. He averaged 6.2 yards per carry. Kate Rowland, the quarterback for Greer, was fantastic as well. On the ground, he ran the ball 17 times for 78 yards and a touchdown. He also was 7 of 15 through the air. He did have 1 pick, but he threw 1 touchdown for 106 yards. One of those was a 72-yarder. So that boosted his stats, obviously, there. But you talk about the flip side, an offense led by Kane Rogers of Burns that looked a lot better against Irmo 2 weeks ago. Kane Rogers and the offense never found that rhythm, Alex. 18 of 25, no touchdowns, 1 pick, 152 yards. They just never were able to run the football. Again, 5 yards is all Burns finished with for the entire game, team statistics. And I don't care what level of football it is. That kind of production is not going to win you many games. And they've got some serious work to do. But on the Greer side, looking at the rest of their schedule and their season, they've got a lot of talented football players. We know that Will Young always schedules tough. Will Young always has a very tough out-of-region schedule. Greer has talent. So now that they're through the gauntlet of the schedule before they enter region play, if they can get production from guys on the defense side of the ball like Sandy White and Drew Hansen, who are 2 of their best defensive players, what's the rest of their schedule look like?
Yeah, this next week they're at Berea. They come back home against Travelers Rest. Then they're at Pickens. Then they've got a little bit of a home stretch with Blue Ridge, Seneca. They've got a week 9 bye week and then travel to Daniel. So, again, you're playing. You mentioned it, Cole. You schedule that tough non-region schedule to try to prepare you for some of these tough region games. I mean, Blue Ridge doesn't look like they're going to be the rollover team like they have been in the past. Pickens and Seneca, we both know. We know what both of those can do. Daniel to end the season. I mean, you've got a tough schedule continuing out through the region, but, Will Young does the right thing year in and year out by scheduling these tough region games to try to prepare his team for or scheduling the tough non-region games, rather, to try to prepare his team for the region and then hopefully a deep playoff run.
It's just fascinating. Greer's Will Young has been there now for 20 years. And 20 seasons. He was 0-6 against Reagan Shaw. It just looked as if Greer, for a little while, for a big stretch, it looked as if Greer would just never get a win against Burns. And Burns fans talked about it. They talked about, Greer was the team that Burns could always mark up as a W on that schedule. So when you look at that region, I think this year that region's really fascinating. We know that Daniel's going to be Daniel. Daniel's a very good team, but you got to feel like Greer has a shot against Berea, Travelers Rest, Pickens, Blue Ridge. Seneca's really, really good. They're 4-0. They're going to be a tough test for every team in the region. But other than those last 2 games, Seneca and Daniel, Alex, there's a good chance. Again, coaches take it one game at a time, but we don't. There's a good chance Greer could roll off 5 in a row. Burns, Berea, TR, Pickens, and Blue Ridge.
Yeah, I could absolutely see Burns being, 4-0 in the region going into that Seneca game.
And Greer.
Or yeah, sorry. I could see Greer being 4-0 in the region going into that Seneca game in week 8
Yep.
before that bye week. So uh, I absolutely agree with you. I echo that. I think that Greer has a really good chance here to rattle off a good string of wins to end the season.
It's going to be fascinating to watch. A win like that over Burns very well could propel you. It very well could be the boost that you need to go on a run. And speaking of going on a run, another team that I wanted to touch on, we'll talk to the head football coach of Woodruff in the 9 o'clock hour, Brett Sloan. He'll join us about 35 minutes from now. But Woodruff over Woodmont Thursday night, Alex, 36-13. Woodruff right now, I was talking to a coach at Greer the other night, an assistant whose dad is on the staff at Woodruff. And man, right now Woodruff, their offense is rolling. And previously the first 2 games they gave up a lot of points. Now you go beat Woodmont 36-13. All of a sudden in 3A, in a very interesting region, Woodruff looks like a dark horse that could slip up and make a deep run.
Absolutely, and that's only a 5-team region, so they only have to play 4 region games to end the season. So they still have 2 more non-region weeks before they get into that region schedule. But you mentioned it; they have been scoring a lot of points. Those first 2 weeks, they did give up a lot of points, and they were kind of in a battle. They beat Clinton 40-36 and Fountain Inn 30-27. Since then, 62-35 over Emerald and 36-13 over Woodmont.
Wow, that's pretty good. 4-0 start, second year for Brett Sloan. You couldn't ask for much more. They're scoring a lot of points, as you said, 40, 30, 62, and 36. The region that they're in, before the season started, we had a very interesting conversation about that region in 3A, which is what region? Is that region 2? Region 3, 3A. So you have Woodruff, Broome, Mountain View Prep, Chapman, and Union County. Chapman's been the class of 3A for a very long time. However, I think this year you're going to see that Chapman's not the same Chapman. You've already seen it, right? They're 1-3. They've won 1 game against St. Joe's. I think you're going to see Chapman take a back seat to those teams in Region 3, 3A. Broome had a big win last night over Emerald. However, when I look at that region, I see Mountain View Prep and I see Woodruff as the 2 teams that are going to contend for it. I mean, Chapman and Union County are both young. Chapman's down, compared to where Chapman's been the last 5-10 years, they're down. And Union County, first year staff of Quentin Isom. It's going to be a few years before Quentin Isom really feels like he has a good grasp on his program, in my opinion. And Broome, losing Jalen McGill to Broome, your best running back, D1 guy, that definitely hurts. You lose a lot of production. So I think that Mountain View Prep has a big advantage in that region, but Woodruff, where do they fall? Maybe right behind Mountain View Prep.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we think that week 8 game where Woodruff is playing at Mountain View Prep
or wherever they
play,
PC or wherever they play, I don't know.
Do we think that game is for the region championship?
Playing the Ingles parking lot across the street. I don't know if they put bleachers up.
Yeah, whatever.
But no, to answer your question, I think that's a game that very well could end up being the region championship, Woodruff and MVP. And MVP has a ton of talent. They've had a really good start to the season. Ray Ramsey's done a good job over there in his first year. And, Jalen McGill was our player of the week last week on the Fan Upstate. So I expect them to continue to roll. I don't know if Woodruff's defense will be enough to contain all that talent at MVP. That'll be to your point. What did you say that game was?
It's week 8.
Week 8.
Yeah.
That'll be a fascinating game when you look at Region 3, 3A. That'll be potentially, like you said, the region championship. So very interesting to look at. We'll continue to break down the games from last night. Your thoughts as well. 71307 is the way you can text into the show. Start your text with the word fan. We'll take your thoughts as well. That, more scores from last night, plus we'll also talk to Brett Sloan of Woodruff about 25 minutes from now. All that and more coming up right here on the Saturday Scramble on the Fan Upstate.
Mr. Brown.
We clear, Ben? What's up, Daredevil?
Where's my hat? Where's
Putting a bow on our number one of the program, Saturday Morning Scramble. I'm Cole Bryson, Alex Guest to my right. So good to be with you on this Saturday. It may be a little cloudy outside, but you know what? It's all good. It's a beautiful day for football. It's a big game in South Carolina a little bit later from now, 3 hours from now. We're live at 1524 Locust Hill Road in Greer. You have another hour to swing by if you're around the area. We saw Daredevil, who was a big Greer supporter. He came out, talked a little high school football with us. A big shout out to Daredevil for coming to Ingles, which you can do as well. Each and every Saturday, we're at different Ingles. Also, big thanks to Founders Federal Credit Union for presenting us with Saturday Scramble each and every Saturday. You know, they're building the Founders like 400 feet from where I live.
Really?
I mean, just a stone's throw away. Remember the Ingles we went to last year?
Yeah.
Right beside it. They're building a brand new Founders Federal Credit Union. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Love Founders and encourage you to check out. If you're not a member, do so. Go visit them online and become a member today.
Are you a member?
I'm a member.
No.
I'm a member. I'm a Founders supporter, man. I like Founders.
You can walk out in the morning with your newspaper and your coffee and go walk.
And be at both of our sponsors,
feet. Yeah.
Founders and Eagles. I mean, literally across the street. I promise you, somebody, not me, somebody could throw a football at the Eagles from Founders.
Not you.
Not me.
Okay.
No. I could shoot. Never mind.
Did you run the 40-yard dash with the?
No, I didn't make it. I didn't get the Blacksburg this week. Josh Bachelor, I did. We did have some text conversations during the week. I just didn't with the games getting pushed. It was just a busy week for me. Didn't make time to go up there and run on the catapult.
You weren't going to be able to perform to your expectations.
But I think so. If I get a date, no. If I have 3 days notice, I'm going to cut some. I'm going to start eating a little leaner. Give me 3 or 4 days to cut out the bad stuff.
Do you get to wear cleats when you do that?
I don't think so. Maybe if he has a size 11, if he has a size 11 cleat,
okay,
maybe so. But I think I could perform better than people think on the catapult system. And again, it measures how. But I've also heard that it's a little incorrect. So as long as it's more high than it is low.
So it's not as correct as like the old stopwatch.
Oh, no.
Okay.
There's nothing that beats the stopwatch.
Gotcha.
Absolutely nothing that beats the stopwatch. When you look at last night's games, Alex, Thursday night's games mainly, and last night, I want to get into Gaffney Freedom. Not a ton to talk about there because it was pretty much domination. Gaffney 31-0 over Freedom. But I think there was a little surprise in the first half, kind of how Freedom came out and played out.
Yeah, absolutely, Cole. And I think the first 3 or 4 possessions for both teams, maybe first 3 possessions for both teams, they traded punts. And so it was very, Freedom's defense kind of came out and said, you know what, we've got nothing to lose here.
Cool.
And Gaffney kind of came out with that. And I've seen Gaffney do this in the past where, they played Hammond out of the Skeezer level.
Yeah, I was there.
Or Gray Collegiate or somebody like that. And it's
played down to their
they
competition.
played down to the competition.
Yeah.
And they come out and they just kind of expect to roll over for the competition to roll over and them just run all over them.
Sure.
And, Gaffney, I think, realized very quickly when they didn't score, when there was 0 scoring in the first quarter.
Was it 0?
0, yeah.
At the end of the first?
That wasn't going to happen.
Wow, I didn't know that. What were Gilmore's final stats?
Gilmore was a cool 16 of 26, 195 yards, 1 interception, and 2 touchdowns.
Did he play the whole game?
He did not play the whole game. The Hank Davidson came in as the backup for Gaffney late in the game. So
I'm assuming they didn't have JV Thursday.
I don't think so. No.
What did how many yards of total? I know you had the stat sheet. That's the reason I'm asking.
Yeah.
What did Freedom do total offense?
Freedom had 35 carries for 25 yards and 43 passing yards. So 49 total offensive plays for 68 yards.
68 total yards. But again, Freedom's a school that, on paper, doesn't belong on the same field as Gaffney. No disrespect to them, but they're on a different level. Gaffney's on a different level. It's a tough matchup. They knew coming into that game that it was going to be a tough matchup. But you know what? It sounded like they competed, and that's all that matters. Yeah. You as a coach, going into the game like that, I'm sure you're receiving a nice little chunk of change from Gaffney for coming up there and playing or coming down there and playing. But you just want to see your guys compete and stay healthy. And if you got that, I don't know if there were any injuries, but if you got that, that's all you can ask for as a coach.
Yeah, and like the first half was a ref show. I mean, you look at total
Surely not.
penalties. There were
South Carolina?
24 total penalties in the game for a combined 200 yards.
But the game I was at last night, there were no penalties.
You were at a game
I was not at the
where
game.
you were sleeping.
Yeah,
So,
I was in the bed early
but no, I mean, freedom, and I think Gaffney's coaching staff, and I kind of heard it on the sideline a little bit last night. Gaffney's coaching staff very appreciative of freedom, saying, you know what, we'll come down and we'll play it, because it gave Gaffney live snaps. It also gave Freedom live snaps against tough competition.
Yeah.
So, Dan Jones, I think, was very appreciative of Freedom coming down. And I think just that entire Gaffney coaching staff and team really was appreciative, and the fan base. I mean, it wasn't a great turnout last night, but nobody knew what the weather was going to be. So.
And again,
it's not an undefeated Burns team.
Right. I expected that. I expected the crowd to be a little down last night. It's a team that Gaffney fans expect to go in there and beat and not be close. And it wasn't. The final score wasn't 31-0. But you know what? They did beat the play next week, they did beat the play game that they almost lost because Crest chickened out and backed out at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So it was good that they got a game in, like you said, 31-0.
31-0,
31-0. Now, did who was running back last night? Was McDowell back or no?
No, McDowell was not back. So it was,
can watch the Saturday Scramble. Now we're back and better than ever on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also listen. I want to encourage you, if you haven't done so already, download the free Odyssey app, AUDACY. It's a free app. Search the Fan Upstate. That's how you can listen to the Saturday Scramble, as well as regular programming throughout the week. The Rob Brown Show, Wire to Wire with Diesel and myself. And anything you want to listen to in the Fan Upstate, you have that free Odyssey app, Burns Football. You can listen there. Again, it's free, AUDACY. If you have a female friend in the home named Alexa, you can also say, hey, Alexa, play the Fan Upstate, and she will do that.
I have that friend.
Do you?
Yeah.
Will she play the Fan Upstate if you ask her nicely?
That's how I listen to you Thursday night. Yeah.
Good, Alexa. Alexas are the best, man. They're the best.
They are.
You just say, hey, Alexa, play the Fan Upstate, and you are good to go. We will talk to Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the undefeated. Is that right? 4-0?
Undefeated 4-0.
Woodruff Wolverines. Big win on Thursday night for Woodruff over Woodmont. We'll talk to Brett Sloan on the other side, as well as get your thoughts and continue to talk about last night's games. And we will even turn the page in hour number 2 and look ahead to week number 4 of high school football. All that.
Flying by.
It is. All that and more right here on the Fan Upstate. Hour number 2 of the Saturday Scramble coming your way. We are live at Ingles this morning. Which Ingles? Well, I'm glad you asked. 1524 Locust Hill Road in Greer. That is where we are. It's good to see some Fan Upstate hats out there. Daredevil, Miss Daredevil, repping the Fan Upstate. So good to see them as well. If you are in the Greer area, Melissa from Ingles, we love Melissa. She is here as well. So always good to be at Ingles. We love Ingles, and we talk about them a lot because we appreciate what they do for us, and we invite you to check them out. Make them your home for your grocery shopping. Throughout the week, Ingles is the absolute best. So many locations all over the upstate. Also, big thanks to Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm a big fan of Founders. I'm a member there. If you're not, I encourage you to do so. Apply for a membership today, foundersfcu.com. Again, that's foundersfcu.com. Alex, before we talk to Brett Sloan, if you would, let's give the Week 3 scores from not last night, but Thursday and Friday night. And there were a lot of good games. Here are the scores from Week 3.
Here they are. Greenwood knocked off Lexington 14-0. Teal-Hanna, a 36-29 winner over Wren. Woodruff, 36-13 winners over Woodmont. Greer defeated Burns 18-10. Eastside, 23-13 winner over Blue Ridge. Gaffney defeated Freedom out of North Carolina 31-0. Broome, a 28-25 winner over Emerald. Fountain Inn defeats Carolina 56-6. AC Flora, 20-17 winners over Lawrence. Berea, a 26-20 winner over Southside. Westside, 55-14, big win over Belton Honeypath. St. Joe's, a 21-7 winner over Pickens. Seneca defeats Walhalla 24-7. Mountain View Prep, a 48-21 winner over Crescent. Powdersville, 16-7 winners over Pendleton. Franklin County, Georgia defeats West Oak 49-17. Liberty, a 28-9 winner over Palmetto. Clinton, 49-27 winners over Chapman. Union County gets a big come-from-behind win, 30-27 over Blacksburg. Chesney, 28-24 over RS Central out of North Carolina. Landrum, a 47-21 winner over Polk County out of North Carolina. Abbeville, 49-28 over 96. Ware Shoals, 28-12 winners over Towns County out of Georgia. And Greenwood Christian defeats Whitmire 40-14.
I missed those. Can you do it again?
Oh, let me catch my breath.
Just kidding. A lot of good games over the last 2 nights. You know, we didn't do this in hour number 1 as we normally do, Alex, but if you look at the slate of games, you know, that happened on Thursday, the few that were last night, which game, and I probably know where you'll go here. I think there's one game that everybody will say, and Daredevil will probably clap on this one. Which game surprised you the most from the weekend?
I'm not going to go that direction, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good curveball.
I think the game that surprised me the most was the outcome, just the final score, and how big of a win Westside had over BHP.
Yeah. Last night, right?
Yeah.
Daredevil agrees with you. Know, I can't push back on that. I thought that game would be close.
I thought that would be a much closer game than the 55-14 final showed.
Maybe it's just time that we realize Westside's not going to lose.
Westside's the real deal.
They're the real deal. We knew that, but
yes, Greer beating Burns.
Add that one too. All of the talent that BHP has, one of the better teams in 3A, Marquise Henderson, the Clemson commit, very good running back at BHP. We knew that they would be a good team this year. And listen, they're still a really good team. They're going to win a lot of games this year.
Yeah.
However, you're right. The way that game Westside, they may just do that to everybody this year. They may dominate everybody. They may handle business against everybody they play. Cutter Woods and that team, man, they are absolutely fantastic. And I don't know that many teams are going to get them. I don't know that any teams in 4A. I mean, that's going to be a tall cup of tea, for teams to handle Westside. So look forward to that. I will say the one that surprised me was Burns Greer. I will pick that one as the easy pick, but, it's 2000, the year 2000. Bill Clinton was the president. The last time Greer defeated Burns, well, not anymore. The 20-year streak, the games, it was a 16-game streak that Burns had over Greer, again, dating back to the year 2000. That comes to an end. 18-10 win for Greer over Burns. I knew in my lifetime I'd see it. I didn't think it would be this year. Even as down as Burns is, I thought after a bye, a good performance against Irmo, I thought they would handle Greer. However, boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, Cole. I thought that for sure, and again, it kind of goes back to what I mentioned in the first hour. I thought for sure that, and I'm not saying there wasn't, but I thought that Reggie Shaw and the Burns coaching staff would have been at the Greer game last week and doing the scouting report and all of that kind of stuff and figuring out, hey, here's our game plan against Greer, and more than likely, there's like a 99% chance that they did do that. But coming off of the bye week, I really thought that Burns was going to be able to at least compete with a little bit better than what they did with Greer and even come out with a win.
I'm with you. It was very surprising. And Ben, if you don't mind, buddy, let me know when we do have Coach on the line. We'll go to Coach in just a few moments. But there were a lot of good games over the Thursday night and Friday night period. Clinton Chapman, did that surprise you anyway in terms of how that game wasn't close? Chapman, we know they're down. We know that Harry Cabanis and those guys are still coaching them hard. They're still playing hard. But, that's a really good Clinton team. And now Chapman, 1-3? Is that right?
Yeah, Chapman 1-3. And really, I don't know that it did surprise me. I think, last week's loss to Boiling Springs for Chapman kind of – I feel like that the psyche of Chapman after that game and their mentality going throughout the next week to then play a very good Clinton team.
Mr. Sloan is with us.
I think that was kind of the situation where, Clinton, really good.
Really good team.
They come out and they put a beating on Chapman.
49-27 win for Clinton over Chapman. Again, Chapman now 1-3 on the season, a win over St. Joe's, but they've had a tough schedule as well. And it's not going to get any easier. It doesn't get easier anytime soon if you're Chapman. So we'll see how they continue to progress as the season goes on. Still a good team, a good coaching staff, but it will be fascinating to watch. Let's go to the phone lines where we bring in Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the Woodruff Wolverines. Coach, we appreciate you joining us. A weird Thursday night game that you maybe were able to get some sleep on Friday night. Congratulations on the win, Coach.
I appreciate you guys having me on this morning.
Absolutely, Coach. A fascinating win for you guys. Now 4-0 on the season, 36-13 over Woodmont. When you take a step back, Coach, before we get into the Woodmont game, when you take a step back and look, 4-0 start, your second season. When you started the season just a month ago, obviously you want to win every game, but did you feel like your team would be able to have this level of success that you've had?
Well, I think we had a lot of faith in our kids. We were really young last year, and we went through some struggles, but we knew that, some of those struggles were going. If we could persevere, we're going to create, a better football team. And as they grow, and sometimes I tell people all the time, sometimes they just need a couple birthdays, and that's what we needed. We needed experience, and we needed the age, and we needed a year in the weight room, and we needed all those things. And we knew if we could hang together, we felt like we had a chance to be pretty good, and I think, we're not there yet. We're not where we need to be, but we're obviously grateful and, thankful that we've had the opportunities we've had to be successful, and that we've taken advantage of those opportunities. So, I felt like we had a chance to be good. How good, I wasn't quite sure until you see them play under the lights, but so far they've answered the call every time. So.
Coach Brett Sloan, the head football coach of the Wolverines, joining us right here on the Saturday morning scramble on the Fan Upstate. Coach, we talk to a lot of coaches, and one question that I always find intriguing is the difference from year one to year two. Did you feel like last year at Woodruff in year one, it was a lot of just getting used to Woodruff, the team, the staff, the personnel, and then year two is kind of a sigh of relief for you?
Yeah, you're so much more established in year two, and a lot of it is you're getting used to the players and staff and everything, the community, and then a lot of it on the other side of that coin is they're getting used to you, and that's a lot of. I think this team's starting to kind of take on my personality a little bit. No, they're taking on the personality. Our defense is certainly take on the personality of our defense coordinator, because they fly around, and they are they're playing really well right now. I don't think I just see growth on that side of the ball each week, and I'm really pleased there. But it's just it's the second time through everything. Our guys know our terminology better. Every time you install something, it's that they've been through that install before, and they have some background knowledge on to draw from. So we're just a lot more experienced in both sides of the ball as far as our systems and what we want to do from a schematic standpoint. But we're also we're trying to cultivate a culture of belief, and I think you're starting to see that, because they're believing they can win the game, and they're believing they should win the game, and that belief's a powerful thing, and you're starting to see that play out for them. So.
Coach, talk about some impact players for the Woodruff Wolverines in 2024. Obviously, you don't have to name all of your guys, but for those that don't follow Woodruff quite as close, who are some guys that are impact players for not only the offense but the defense in 2024?
Well, I mean, TJ Morris, obviously, TJ kind of makes us go on offense. As far as he's what allows us to be so balanced and so diverse, because he's very good in the RPO game and efficient in the passing game. And, he's just kind of an extra coach on the field in a lot of situations. And then, Aiden Gibson's off to a fantastic start this year. I think he's over 500 yards rushing now, maybe 600. I don't remember. I had full stats, but he's had a great year as a sophomore. Corey Moats has been fantastic at receiver. Cam Taylor's been great at tight end. We got Hunter West, who's big on offense and defense, especially at safety. Snoop Green in the slot's been fantastic. And then we got, on offense, we got 5 starting offensive linemen who are all seniors, so, and they've been fantastic. I mean, they've been absolutely fantastic so far. So those guys have been great. Defensively, Sean Graybill Sean Graybill and Jordan Hood and Hunter West are the guys who kind of they enjoy contact. They are contact seekers and embracers. They don't avoid it in any way, and they kind of bring that mentality to our defense. And so they've been great on that side of the ball. So Trayvon Lee's a big one. Gunnar Atkinson that knows. Nathan Gentry at defensive end. So Michael Dial's been good at corner. Cass Green. So we got some guys who are playing at a pretty high level right now. So.
Coach Brett Sloan, the head coach of the Woodruff Wolverines, joining us on the Saturday morning scramble right here on the Fan Upstate on this beautiful Saturday morning to talk some high school football. Coach, it's fascinating when you look at the schedule that you guys have had. Clinton, Fountain Inn, Emerald, Woodmont, 4 wins, score a lot of points, 40, 30, 62, and 36. If I asked you to find one area, what's your point of emphasis to your team that you want to improve on? I mean, I know you've given up 36 and 35. Is it the defensive side of the ball, or what's your message to your team as you go to Chesney next week?
Well, yeah, it is. We've got to clean up some special teams deals. We're giving people part of the defensive struggles on the scoreboard is that we're giving them the ball up in such good field position. It's a lot harder when you have to drive it from 25 and in. I think your percentages of scoring a touchdown are like 15% or something like that. And as the ball creeps up, towards the field line, it continues to go up to 40-something percent. So we've got to get to where we're better on the kickoff team. We're giving up too much ground there and allowing people. But there's some hidden yardage there that people don't always see. In the special teams area, and that was an emphasis for us this week. and we'll be again this week. This coming week. We feel like we improved a little bit, but it's not where we want it to be just yet. We gotta improve a little bit in the turnover margin. I think we had 2 turnovers. I know we had 2 turnovers Friday night. So we got to protect the ball a little bit better, and make sure that we're creating turnovers. But those are the 2 big emphases right now. So.
Coach, before we let you go, I know it's early Saturday. Maybe you had some time yesterday with a game on Thursday night to watch some film. But what do you know about this Chesney football team that you guys will be facing next Friday night?
No, I mean, I hadn't got into them in depth yet, but they fly around. They play really hard. I haven't watched a ton. Quarterback's really athletic, and they play really hard. They're aggressive. They fly to the football, and they play with great enthusiasm. They'll definitely they'll present some issues for us. We'll have to be ready to play.
Well, Coach, best of luck on Friday at Chesney. There's going to be a big game for both teams. We appreciate your time this morning and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day. Okay?
Absolutely. That's Brett Sloan. Appreciate him joining us right here on the Saturday morning scramble in the Fan Upstate, hour number 2 of the program. That's a big game for not only Woodruff, Alex, but Chesney, who's experienced in the first year of Brett Chappell some really good wins, and they also have, 1 loss, or is it 2 losses? Without looking.
Two losses.
2 losses.
Yep.
So Chesney's in a spot where you know how it is, first year head coach. You're gonna take your bumps and bruises. You're gonna have some wins. I thought that win over Emerald was telling of the DNA of that football team for Chesney. They were down by 4 with very little time on the clock, a go-ahead touchdown to win the game for Chesney over Emerald. So not only for Woodruff, but on the Chesney side of things, boy, if they could get that game against a really good Woodruff offense, that's going to be a tough one for them.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned 2-2. Their schedule or their record 2-2 right now. Started the season 0-2, and
right.
Since then they've really kind of. It's like you mentioned. First year head coach takes a little bit of time to kind of get in the rhythm and routine of things. And so I think Chesney and Woodruff going to be an interesting game this next week.
Without a doubt. Before we run to a break in just a few moments, how do we do last night? Well, you and I make our weekly picks every week right here on the Saturday morning scramble.
I don't know. How'd you do?
I did not the best. Not the best last night. 16-6. Again, winning record, right?
Okay.
Let's look at the positives here.
Okay.
Let's make this a positive segment. 16-6. You did really well. 18-4. The 4 games you missed were
Lexington and Greenwood.
Okay.
We both picked Lexington on that one. Emerald Broome. I picked Emerald. You picked Broome.
Mm-hmm.
I also missed the Pendleton Powdersville game.
That was a hard one to pick.
It really was, and we went separate ways on that. You took Powdersville, I took Pendleton,
Yep.
and I missed Blacksburg Union County.
Yeah, as did I. As did I. And again, 2 minutes to go in that game, you and I were looking really good, right?
Yeah,
looking really good.
I was like, I'll get 19 wins this week.
and I again 16-6. Puts me at 78-23. It's not bad. 78-23 on the season, 77% winning percentage right now. I got Lexington wrong. You and I both picked Lexington over Greenwood, and you know what? That's a big win for Greenwood. After the week before, lost to Dorman, so a big bounce back for Greenwood. I also picked Wren over Hannah. You picked Hannah. I picked Wren. I really thought Wren was going to win that game last night. I really did. And Hannah, I saw him play. They're a good team. They're young, and that's why I picked Wren. However, that was a big-time win for TL Hannah last night over Wren. I also picked Burns over Greer, and boy, did that bite me in the you-know-what. So got that one wrong. My worst pick of the week was Blue Ridge over Eastside. I should have known better. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that, but I did. I'm just trying to believe in Blue Ridge a little bit, but that one burned me. And then I picked Palmetto. So Palmetto tricked me. They had a big win the week before. Scored like 35 points. I thought, maybe Palmetto's onto something. They lose to Liberty this week. You picked that one right. I picked Palmetto. Got that one wrong. And then you and I both picked Blacksburg. and you and Brock Cameron, Brock's going to call in about 9:40 on the program, and I have to slip out a little early, Alex. But that game, we talked about it in hour number 1. Blacksburg Union, for those that are just tuning in hour number 2, Blacksburg led Union County 27-8 with 2 minutes to go to the ball game. Blacksburg was leading and lost the game. And, that's one of those games that you just wish you were at to see how it ended. 2 fumbles on kick returns, first play of scrimmage on a drive, house call. I don't know how Blacksburg flushes that, but they've got to flush it soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we mentioned it in hour number 1 where you've got to have the shortest memory that you could possibly have, if any memory at all. Maybe you just have a little bit of amnesia there and you just absolutely no memory at all, no recollection of what happened in the final 2 minutes of that game. And you just move on, you get prepared for next week's game. So I agree with you. I think Blacksburg will be I think they'll be okay. I think they'll bounce back. But, hey, they go on the road 3 straight weeks now.
Ooh,
last night was their final home game until October 11th.
Wow.
So they are at Central of Pageland, at Pageland Central. They are at Broome and then at Chesney.
3 straight road games for I tell you what, that is tough. That is tough for Blacksburg. And, again, to your point, they're still a very good team. I think they'll be fine. However, what's so fascinating is I just thought that if you have the ball with 2 minutes to go and you have a chance, you're up 27-8, you would think that you can just fall on the football, right?
Yeah.
Fall on it. I don't know what else.
Take a knee.
That is I cannot fathom how you lose a game up 27-8 with 2 minutes to go. So, very interesting. A lot of games to get to. We will, in the very next segment, turn the page, though, Alex, and look at games coming up next Friday night. Your thoughts as well. If you want to get in on the conversation, you can do so. Text line 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Phone lines are also open. 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. Get your thoughts, and we'll continue to look at next week's games on the other side. This is the Saturday Morning Scramble right here on the Fan Upstate.
high school football rules on the Saturday Morning Scramble.
Only on the Fan Upstate.
Taking you home on the Saturday Morning Scramble on this 14th day of September. We're live on Locust Hill Road in Greer at Ingalls, as we are each and every Saturday morning. Always good to be at Ingalls. We love Ingalls, and we encourage you to make Ingalls a part of your life just like we do. We appreciate Melissa and all the fine folks at Ingalls for what they do for us and for the community as well. If you're going to the Furman game today, you'll see them out there. They support the SoCon a ton that you'll see that Ingalls is involved with, and we sure do appreciate them. Alex Guest, looking at week 4, it's the 5th game for a lot of teams. However, week 4, because we have a week 0. So week 4 begins next Friday night. Hopefully the weather, is better. I did see there's another chance of rain next Friday, so we'll see how that goes. But looking at these games, man, a lot of these teams in the region play, so the games are starting to matter a lot more. However, I have the million-dollar question of, is there a game bigger than Gaffney at Bowling Springs next week?
Bigger than Gaffney Bowling Springs? I don't think so.
You can't find one? Did you
I
look
don't
good?
think so. I didn't check anything past, like the Rock Hill and then everything south of Lawrence. I didn't check.
In the upstate, I'm looking. I'm trying
mean,
to find one with as big of implications. I mean, let's see.
Maybe. Oh, you know what? Maybe Southside Carolina.
You're kidding. I hope. Right? I hope you're kidding.
Maybe Burns and
no,
Wade Hampton.
No.
Okay.
And
well,
that's Alex's sarcastic
yeah.
tone, if you can't tell. No, I'm looking. Clinton Daniels a big game in 3A. That's a very big game in 3A, and Daniels 4A now. But that'll be fascinating. And Clinton's 2A. Did they drop? Or no, are they still 3A?
No, Clinton is 2A. Yeah,
they did drop.
Yeah.
So Clinton Daniels a fascinating game on Friday. That's a big one. Looking at this rest of the schedule, Chester, Union County, Chapman, Christchurch, a lot of good games, and we'll get to those games. But there's none bigger than Bowling Springs, Gaffney. What are your early thoughts on that one?
I think it goes back to kind of what you said in hour number 1. A little bit of the, I don't want to say toughness of schedule up to this point, but, I think it goes back to Boiling Springs. They've had some really impressive wins over Greer, Malden, and Chapman. I mean, you look at that Greer game to start the season, I would have never thought that they'd beat Greer 43-0. I picked them to win, but I didn't think it'd be 43-0. You look at that Chapman game last week, I would have never thought that they'd beat Chapman 52-7. So Boiling Springs has had some really impressive victories so far on the season, but if you look at kind of that toughness of schedule and that kind of thing, I think Gaffney has maybe a more impressive win over J.L. Mann.
Yeah.
What Gaffney was able to do on the defensive side of the ball last week against Greenville was really impressive. So I'm going to early lean. I'm going to go Gaffney, but realistically, I think this game could be a toss-up.
2 undefeated teams.
Yeah.
So one team, when they leave this game, will have their first loss of the season, to your point.
Unless they tie.
Well, unless that never happens, right? To your point, it's going to be a great game. So what I said in hour number 1 was, I know Bowling Springs is a very good team. We all know Bowling Springs is really well coached with Matt Reel, a fantastic quarterback with Lincoln Husky. They've got dudes not only on the offense side of the football, but also on the defensive side. Kyle Patterson's one of the most underrated receivers in the upstate. He's going to be good. I do think Bowling Springs, being at home, they always have a fantastic crowd. They always pack that place out.
It's a tough place to play.
Gaffney's going to bring a house. There won't be many seats left at that game in Bowling Springs on Friday night. And, dating back to 2016, this will be the biggest game Bowling Springs has had, not just at home, but in general, since 2016. Since Gaffney came to Bowling Springs in the playoffs, They played twice that year. We talked about it last week. They played once in the regular season and once in the postseason, and the postseason game was at Bowling Springs. So since that 2016 season, it's hard to find a game that would be bigger for Bowling Springs, not for Gaffney, but for Bowling Springs than this game coming up. They have a very, I think Matt Real said it best last week. When I had audio, I talked to him after the Chapman game. We had his audio on the show the next day, 1 week ago from the day. I think Matt Real said it best, Alex, when he said everything that I've always asked for since I got to Bowling Springs in terms of what we wanted to accomplish, everything's right here. Everything we've asked for is right here in front of us. We have the opportunity to do exactly what I wanted to do since he got to Bowling Springs, and he's been building this culture up, building this program up, and he's done a fantastic job. He's got a really good staff with Brian Turk on the offensive staff, helping Lincoln Husky a lot. He's right. They have the opportunity to make a statement, not only in the upstate, but in the state of South Carolina, because a win over Gaffney, that's a statement win. It doesn't matter if Gaffney's down or not. Anytime you can beat Gaffney, it's a big deal. And I tell you this, Gaffney is a little more tested, I think, because they did play a really good JL Man team. I don't know how good of a pulse to put on Bowling Springs in terms of the region quite yet, because we haven't seen them play stiff competition. No disrespect to the first three teams that they've played, but they haven't played the same competition that they will play, and that's what's going to be so fascinating. That's what's going to be so interesting about Bowling Springs next week, is they're playing a very good team for the first time, and I think that you're going to see two good quarterbacks. It might be the two best quarterbacks in what, Alex, the upstate? I mean, no, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the upstate, but Javon Gilmore and Lincoln Husky, that's going to be a show. Like, get the popcorn ready. That's going to be a fantastic matchup between both of those quarterbacks. No, they don't go against each other, but Bowling Springs' defense against Javon Gilmore, and then Gaffney's defense against Lincoln Husky.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking about two future D1 quarterbacks in Javon Gilmore and Lincoln Husky. I almost just combined their names, Javon Husky. You're talking about two future D1 quarterbacks at the collegiate level that are going to be going at each other. And you talk about the series between Gaffney and Boiling Springs, and there was a time not too long ago where Boiling Springs was Gaffney's homecoming game year in and year out. And I mean, Gaffney was beating them like 45-0, 30-31, like just year in and year out. And really, I mean, since 2016, you haven't seen that.
Yeah.
This has been a very competitive series. Yeah. I mean, Gaffney is on a 7-game win streak right now against Boiling Springs. And outside of 2021, when Gaffney just had a dominant team and won the state championship, outside of that year, this has been a very close game. I mean, last year was 17-7. The year before that, 19-7. So, I mean, really close. Boiling Springs, like you said, is giving Gaffney fits, and I think they're going to do the same thing on Friday night.
Was 2016 the last time Bowling Springs won?
2016, last time Bowling Springs won. They won twice,
won that year. Were both games at Bowling Springs that year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So both games were at Bowling Springs, and the 2016 year is the year Bowling Springs won the state championship. And then you said that's 7 straight that Gaffney's won since. But there have been a few close games in there, right?
Yeah, a lot of close games. I mean, 31-7 and 17, 42-14, 56-13. But then
those weren't close.
But then since kind of the COVID season, 33-23 in 2020.
Yeah.
Then Gaffney won 34-0 in 21. But then 19-7 and 17-7 since Matt Real has been at Boiling Springs these last 2 seasons.
What were those two again?
19-7 and 17-7.
Last year was close. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember that last year. It was a close game.
Yeah.
So, like you said, since Matt Real's been there, it's been a different story. And he has this Bowling Springs team pacing to play well. And that's going to be a great game. I cannot wait. You'll be there. And so will a lot of people. I mean, that'll be a fantastic atmosphere. Excuse me.
You want to be there?
I wish I could see that one, but I won't be there. It'll be a fantastic atmosphere.
I'll go live for you.
And Bowling Springs on Friday night. But a few other games before we run to a break in just a few minutes, Alex. What else jumps off the page? I mean, we have JL Man Easley next week. Woodmont Greenville. Greenville looking for their first win. Yeah. Woodmont's trying to get back healthy. Excuse me, have the hiccups. And that's not great to have while you're on the radio. But I do have the hiccups right now, so that's part of Woodmont's trying to get back healthy. They've got a lot of guys, I think 7 starters that Woodmont's had injured as of late. Hannah Greenwood, that one's intriguing, right? I think that'll be a good game. Hillcrest, Malden, early lean Hillcrest there. Burns, Wade Hampton. Alex, you would think that Burns gets their first one of the season against Wade Hampton, a big game because they're trying to get the first win. Usually, no disrespect to Wade Hampton, but usually, this isn't a big game. Reuben Wright, first year at Wade Hampton. Burns trying to take down Wade Hampton. They're 9-0 against Wade Hampton all time. So I do think they get their first win. But, boy, we didn't expect Burns to be looking for their first win of the season against Wade Hampton. Dorman Riverside. How about that one? That one's intriguing, right? I mean, Riverside's a team that I don't think is going to lay down for anybody this year. I think Riverside Friday night, and that game's at Riverside, man, I don't know that I'm ready to make a pick on that one yet because that's a tough freaking game to pick. But I'll tell you this, I think that game will be close.
Yeah, and if Gaffney Boiling Springs weren't a game this week and didn't have the implications that it would, these next 2 games that I think you're about to mention, in Dorman Riverside, and then the other game in Region 2 5A of Eastside Spartanburg, those are really intriguing games to me, just from the aspect of you've got your traditional teams of Spartanburg, Dorman that aren't undefeated going into this game. They both have 1 loss on the schedule. Then you have your traditional teams of Riverside, Eastside that you wouldn't expect to be undefeated going into these games. They are both undefeated. Granted, you look at the level of competition, who have all 4 of those teams played to this point. I mean, Dorman's loss is to national powerhouse Grayson, so they might as well be undefeated. They're undefeated in the state. Spartanburg's loss is to state and really year in and year out national powerhouse Dutch Fork. So
not a bad loss.
I mean, not a bad loss. So you're talking about 4 teams that very well might as well just be like 12-0 going into this game combined. Eastside and Riverside, again, I don't want to, make a pick on either of these 2 games just yet. But it's going to be interesting to see what Riverside can do against Dorman and what Eastside's able to do against Spartanburg in this new, kind of mega region of Region 2 5A.
Those 2 games will be very telling in terms of what we're working with, what we're looking at with the region. I think Dorman Riverside's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that's going to be a fantastic game on Friday night. We'll talk more about it. We'll take a break. I'm going to run. I've got to try my best to get to Columbia.
Oh.
We'll see if that happens or not before noon. We'll see.
I didn't get the invite.
Well, I have 1 media pass, and, I can't sneak you into my bag. You're not that small.
Oh,
so,
that's a bummer.
Maybe if I can get a Pelican case, I can sneak you in.
Okay.
But I'm going to try to make it before kickoff. So we'll see. I'll update everybody on Twitter and see if I make it by noon.
Not while you're driving.
Not while I'm driving.
Yeah.
So Brock Camrick of WZZQ, the
Yeah.
play-by-play voice of Gaffney Indians, also the Cherokee Chronicle. He'll join us. He'll join you next to talk about that Blacksburg finish. That was incredible. And who knows what you and him will talk about. I mean, probably Gaffney for 20 straight minutes, but that's okay. You can also get your thoughts in 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Next week, just to let you know, next Saturday, we will be in Boiling Springs.
Oh.
We're coming to a city near you.
So you can just okay.
The 21st,
You can
next
just roll
Saturday.
out of bed at like 5 till.
I wish. Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs. So really that's the Springfield location across from Mountain View Prep, right? That's the one that's across from MVP. It's called Springfield. Asheville Highway in Boiling Springs is where we'll be next Saturday. Final segment of the show next.
your podcasts.
This is the Saturday Morning Scramble, powered by Founders Federal Credit Union and your local Ingles Market.
This is the Fan Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Streaming everywhere on the Odyssey app.
It is the Saturday Morning Scramble final segment of Week 3, Saturday Morning Scramble edition. I am Alex Guest. Cole had to run. He's going to go enjoy a little bit of South Carolina LSU today. So we are wrapping up final segment here, and on the phone line, we've got a friend of the show, very special guest in Brock Hamrick. Brock is the play-by-play voice of the Gaffney Indians. He's also with the Cherokee Chronicle in Gaffney and Cherokee County. And Brock, you got to see 2 games this week. Blacksburg, Thursday night, Cole and I talked about it. We've actually had an extensive conversation about it so far in the show, but talk a little bit about the ending of that Blacksburg game Thursday night, Brock, and how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Alex. Thanks for having me on. And, you can't beat 2 games in 1 week. It's not often that we get that opportunity, but especially 2 games with good weather. And Thursday night, Blacksburg came out of the gate swinging, Alex, and they jumped out to a big lead. And there in the fourth quarter, I'll be honest, I was talking to some of the folks on the sideline, not coaches, but just some Blacksburg supporters on the sideline. And we were talking about how this was going to be the biggest win for the program, probably since they won the region title in 2017, this, that. And then all of a sudden, Blacksburg has to punt it away, and that's okay, right? There's about a minute 50 left. Well, Quay Brannon, the Union County quarterback, takes off on an 80-yard touchdown run, and just like that, it's a 2-score game. Well, then Blacksburg fumbles the ensuing kickoff. Union County gets it, scores the next play, and finds themselves down by just a touchdown. And then pretty much, Alex, we saw the same thing over again. Another muff kickoff, and Union County comes up with it, and another touchdown pass to their big wide receiver. They go for 2 to make it a 3-point game. And in the matter of probably about 45 game seconds, it went from Blacksburg holding a 27-8 lead, and then all of a sudden they found themselves down 30-27 with 50 seconds on the clock. And I really struggled to find the words to describe it. Everyone in stunned silence. Everyone really just looking around, trying to figure out what just happened, because it was unlike anything I'd ever seen.
Yeah, and, I was keeping up with that game a little bit on Twitter. I was in Greenville Thursday night, and it was, pretty off and on rain for the better part of Thursday over in Greenville. But you mentioned good weather in Blacksburg. So, obviously it had kind of rained a little bit throughout the day, but the muffed punts and kickoffs, did weather really kind of play a factor into that, or was it just, bad execution?
Well, there was some precipitation on and off during the game, but it was really just showers.
Gotcha.
And it was really just a misting rain at the worst points. But the first kickoff, I think, sailed over the Blacksburg returner's head, and he may have touched, or even if he didn't touch it, on a kickoff, it's live. So he had to turn around and retreat and pick it up. Now, in hindsight, if you just fall on it there and then sit on it 3 times with a knee, Union County had no timeout, so the game would have been over. But I think just instinct took over, and they chased back, got the football, and then tried to advance it. There was the fumble there. And then the other, Alex, I think it was Union County's goal at an onside kick, but really it was about a 15-yard sky kick towards the visiting sideline. And the Blacksburg player, it just kind of slid through his hands and bounced right off the ground. And as soon as it did, there were Union County players there to kind of kick it around that played to the Yellow Jackets' advantage. I don't know that weather was a factor there, Alex. I'll be honest. And Coach Bachelor has told me this coming into the season, and even after Ware Shoals got out to a big lead on them in the season opener this year. He said this Blacksburg team still has to learn how to win. Last year they won 3 games. That's more games than they won in the last 2 seasons combined. So I think we have to keep that in perspective. This team is still learning how to win. The good thing is, that loss on Friday night or Thursday night doesn't change anything about the talent and explosiveness that Blacksburg has. However, there will be a decision to be made by these student athletes to how they respond to a tough loss like we saw on Thursday.
Yeah, obviously you got to have a short memory as you get prepared to take on Central, who is notoriously a tough team out of Pageland. And Brock, what do you think? Blacksburg, you think they bounce back pretty well and have a good week of practice and for a tough road trip to Central?
Well, I think it's a good wake-up call, Alex, and
Yeah.
I hate the way it ended on Thursday night for Blacksburg, but I don't think the loss is the worst thing that can happen. Union County's a 3A team. Blacksburg's in Region 1-2A. They've got some matchups against Chesney and Landrum, two big rivalry games later this season that I think they will have the advantage in. And if they can pick up those big region victories, you never know what could happen later down the road against a team like Clinton, which is probably the favorite in that Region 1-2A. But I don't know a ton about Central, but I think for Blacksburg, we're gonna learn a lot about the team this week at practice. We'll see how they come out, see how that energy level is, if they're kind of deflated or if they're able to put it behind them, Alex. But I can tell you, just the way that unfolded and being there, I've been thinking about it a lot, and it's going to be tough to get over for Blacksburg, but if they are able to, it will make them stronger in the long run, looking back at that, rather than being 3-0 at this point and kind of riding high on themselves. I think they're going to be better off in the long run.
Let's switch gears to the other Cherokee County team, Brock. The game that you called last night in Gaffney and Freedom out of North Carolina. You know, it was kind of a game where a lot of folks from Gaffney probably thought, and myself included, you know, honestly, that Gaffney would kind of go in there and Freedom would just roll over, and we didn't really see that early on.
No, Freedom competed last night, and we interviewed their coach, J.K. Atkins. He came from Mount Airy, North Carolina, where he won 2 Class A state championships, had an over 30-game winning streak, but came back home to Freedom, where he went to high school to build that program back up. Alex, I thought it would be more lopsided than it was against Greenville, but I think you may have made the point earlier. I think Gaffney, and I don't know why they do it, but Gaffney likes to play down the competition.
They do.
And I think that's what we did last night. Hats off to Freedom, though. I know the score was 31-0, and Freedom really did struggle to move the football, but those guys never gave up.
No.
And they were a fun team to watch. And hats off to Coach Adkins. They play, I think, Alex, in that 3A, 4A Mountain Conference in North Carolina, and there's some pretty good teams up there. But I think Freedom could be a team maybe on the rise. It wasn't that long ago, 2012 to 2015. They won 10 games in each of those seasons and won conference titles as well. So it wasn't that long ago that they were competing for some championships up there in Morganton.
Let's move ahead. Let's look at next week because it's such a big game that Gaffney has next week at Boiling Springs. You know, Cole and I have been mentioning all season that this really could be, it has huge playoff implications, obviously, but it really could be a region championship game. Do you kind of see it as the same, Brock?
Oh, no doubt. I made the comment coming into the season. I thought it would be the region championship game, and I feel that way even more so now. And that's not a snide to anyone else in the region. I just don't think there's a team that has shown that they're the complete package like Gaffney and Boiling Springs are. Gaffney has the offense and defense. Boiling Springs obviously does too. I'm telling you, there is a talented Boiling Springs team that I have seen in a very long time, Alex. And like I say, no snide to Dorman or Spartanburg or Burns, but I think we have a lot of question marks still for some of those teams. Spartanburg, what's their offensive line like? Dorman, when are you going to make the decision to go to the sophomore, the more talented athlete? And for Burns, are they going to get it figured out? So there's a lot of questions in this region, Alex, but I don't think there's a ton between Gaffney and Boiling Springs. I think this is going to be a dogfight and one that is won in the trenches. Offensive and defensive line, the ability to run the football and control the game will be key for both teams next Friday night.
Yeah, Brock, completely agree with you. It's going to be an interesting game, going to be fun to watch, and I know, obviously, you know, you're calling that game. I'll be there as well, so it'll be fun to see how that one plays out. Brock, I appreciate you hopping on with us this morning, and we'll see you next week.
That sounds good, Alex. We'll catch you later, and appreciate what y'all do for high school football.
Thanks, Brock. We appreciate you as well. That is the Week 3 edition of the Saturday Morning Scramble. As Cole mentioned, we will be in Boiling Springs next week. We thank everyone for tuning in and listening to us week in and week out. Thank you to our sponsors and Founders Federal Credit Union and Ingalls Markets. We will be at Ingalls in Boiling Springs next week. Have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you for the Week 4 edition of Saturday Morning Scramble.
Got a question or comment? Call 844-FAN.
Great, we're good.
Text
Thanks, Ben. Have a good week.
Followed by keyword
Of course,
fan.
do the same, man.
This is the Saturday Morning Scramble on the Fan Upstate. When it comes to the best sports talk anywhere, let's get this show going, man. Listen to the Fan Upstate on Odyssey no matter where you are. In the car, at home, at work. Download the free Odyssey app on your phone.
Put Founders in the game and win big with our great rates. Whether you're looking for a loan or want to grow your money with a certificate, Founders Federal Credit Union can help you move the chains on your financial goals. Not a member? No problem. Visit foundersfcu.com today to see if you qualify. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required. Equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time